Good morning and welcome to Ag Talking Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. I haven't shaved today, or yesterday, or probably the day before. Let's see, when did I shave? Not that it makes much difference or matters at all. Nobody really cares, right? So, yeah, news out of the Philippines, or news out of in the agricultural world in the Philippines. Not that anybody would really care, right? Except they just came over and bought 250,000 metric tons of soybeans. The I'm just waiting for the kid to stop talking. But anyway, yeah, 250,000 bushels of soybean or metric tons of soybeans is a lot. That should open up or increase the dollar and cents amount for us poor lowly farmers that have been paying the highest input prices in history. With, yes, the highest paid prices in history as well, but when the input costs exceed the highest paid prices for your crops, it really makes it a net zero. It gives a false sense of financial security, which we kind of fell victim to in the last couple of years. And I mean, I'm not knocking other YouTube farmers or anything, but and including myself, I bought a newer combine. I needed it. I had more grain in the ground than I had in previous years, and it just needed to be a secure and safe harvest, which meant that I needed a combine I could actually call the dealer and get parts for. So I bought a CR 8090, if you didn't know. Folding corn head so that I could, instead of running six rows, I could take that combine down the road safely with a 6-row head on it, except it was too wide. Obviously, that wasn't going to work. Minimum of an 8-row head with that thing. And if you do an 8-row head here in New Jersey, you got to put it on a cart because there's no way in hell you're getting that thing down these narrow cow paths without pissing off a bunch of people. So it was a 12-row. Obviously, that's what we ended up with in a 30-foot grain platform, which you have to take on and off many times just to get through the fields, even on one farm. So it's kind of a tricky situation there as well. Not that it matters. We are, we do okay. We get her done. But yeah, so the highest prices paid. I mean, we were getting, Jesus, over $7 a bushel for corn, but nitrogen at $1,100. Nitrogen and P and K at $8, $900 a ton. Just super expensive. Prices of Roundup at $60 a gallon. That is unheard of since the 1970s when it first came out. Yeah, so glyphosate. Let's just use the word glyphosate. 60 bucks. $62 a gallon. That's what we paid back 2 years ago. Not last year, but the year before. Now we're back into regular pricing, numbers, which, hey, whatever. So that's the false sense of financial security. And I see, some other prominent YouTube farmers that have different income streams than I do because I don't search for the promotions. I don't search for the paid anything. I'm here to make videos for people to enjoy. And if you enjoy them, great. If you don't, well, that's great too. Our captain has seemed to latch onto my channel for some weird ass reason because they want me to promote their R Captain plasma cutter, Cut 55 Pro, which I find to be a wonderful machine. Thing works great. The welder, what is that, SA 200 or 200 something or other? That thing is, bar none, one of the coolest little welders I've ever dealt with. I mean, the thing is awesome. It's a MIG, it's a TIG, and it's a stick. It'll do all of those things, and it does it well. The plasma cutter will cut up to 3/4 of an inch thick, or 20 millimeters. Not 19. They don't go with 19 for some reason. They say 20 millimeter. So slightly over 3/4. We could just say 13/16, but nobody buys 13/16 steel. But anyway, yeah, so that's what's going on this side of the world. We have now the input prices have come down a little bit. Fuel prices have come down a little bit. The reason for that is, well, we've got an election, and that election is it always happens. It always happens. So those election low prices on fuel are generally replaced with, after the election, depending on who gets elected, higher prices of fuel. So it's like a pendulum swinging back and forth. But anyway, yeah. So vote wisely. Vote what you know. Don't vote with what you can't understand, because the person that is telling you what you think you should know is about as articulated as a three-toed sloth. Yeah, that kind of thing. And if you vote for the three-toed sloth that talks in circles and never actually answers a question, I'd rather be offended by a guy with a plan than jerked off by a three-toed sloth with no idea as to what she's doing. And that's just the fact of the matter. If you like fair pricing for your grain crops, go with the guy that is actually talking about farmers, not the one that is, well, is your neighbor's lawn mowed? That sort of shit. That's immigration thing, but that we can all mow our own grass. We're all capable of mowing our own grass. Just some people have more money than others, and they feel that their time is more precious than spent mowing their grass. I find great satisfaction when we mow our grass. Looks good, and take pride in what you do. I mow a lot of grass. Oh man, I had googers in my eyes. But yeah, so there you go. The harvest is not in full swing right now in my area. There's a couple guys that are hammering down at 25-26% moisture corn, which no way in hell am I doing that. What happens when you get over... Now, I'm not knocking anybody, but if you get over 20% moisture corn, right? So just listen to what I'm saying. I prefer 18 to 20. I don't want to go a hair over 20% moisture because it's expensive to dry, for one thing. Electricity and gas is expensive. Last year I spent nearly $20,000 in gas, and electric was 10 grand for the harvest. That was corn and beans. 10 grand for electricity, right? So it was pretty fucking expensive. But the propane was really expensive. So this year we're running soybeans first, and I did that the year before last with soybeans first. Last year I couldn't because soybeans were planted after wheat. But anyway, soybeans first, then we're going to go into corn. And if the corn is a breath over 18%, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I know why guys like to combine at 20-22%. It's to prevent header loss. But 2-3 bushels of header loss per acre, you're not going to get that much. You might get a bushel. I don't see the header loss. Slow the head down. The drier it gets, slow that head down. Now I know there's some varieties out there that shell out really super easy. Golden Harvest is not known for that. They're really known for being hard to shell out, in my experience with them. So I can go pretty quick with the Golden Harvest and really have zero header loss, or near zero, half a bushel to 1 bushel per acre. When you take a square foot and lay it over that, if you see a kernel, that's almost too much. But a 3x3 square, 3 feet, 1 yard, a square yard. You throw a square yard, if you see 3 kernels in there, then you're good. That's acceptable losses. I have had corn get thrown out the back of the combine, especially when it's wet. If it's over 20% moisture, it hangs up in the combine. It does not flow as good as you'd like it to flow. So if you're in 250 plus bushel corn and you're going, say, 6-7 miles an hour at 22-24% moisture corn, it ain't gonna flow so good through the combine, and it will eject it out the back. I've seen it. I've done it. I did it last year. I went up to 8 miles an hour with the combine just to see how much that pig would hog down. By the time I got across the 9-acre field, it was actually shooting out the back. So you kind of got to be smart about that as well. New Holland combines are really, really, really efficient and good for cleaning grain and sending it up in into the grain tank very clean. You can tighten the sieves down pretty tight and get everything without chucking it out the back. You don't want to chuck it out the back. If you're chucking it out the back, you actually have to stop and figure that one out. I'm having a calibration issue with mine right now, so I actually think I'm going to pull the sieves out, the upper sieve out. I think there's some junk that's stuck in there because it won't zero. It goes to zero and then it comes back up, which means that there's something stuck in there. So I have to crawl up the ass end of this combine and see what it is. Probably be able to pull them out, pick them out, and then recalibrate it, and things will be good. But that's just on my end. Pricing has come up a little bit. Where's my phone? It's in the pocket. I will tell you what my pricing here is, at cash prices right now. It's a comedy thing that my friend Dan had sent me. Let's go here. So if you don't know, I take the grain when I'm hauling corn. I get zero dockage. The only thing they dock me for is moisture. Corn ended up 6.6 cents down yesterday. Just say a penny down. Right now, if I delivered corn, I would get $4.28 a bushel for it. At the same place, soybeans, $10.12 a bushel for corn, or for soybeans at this particular mill. Now there's another one that's out farther, which is about 15 cents higher for corn, and no, 5 cents higher for corn and 15 cents over basis for soybeans. I believe that's what they are. I'm not 100% sure on that one because it takes me a little bit. But the place that I take into regularly, and I have contracts for my soybeans, that one right now, cash price paid, give me a second while this thing loads. I actually want to put in an offer and see where we go. I would love to get $12 a bushel for my beans, but I don't think that's going to happen. So cash price for soybeans right now, they are 10 cents over basis at $10.52 delivered. It's closer than the other place that I deliver to. Now, if I go for a December delivery, that'll be $10.75. That's contract or delivery price right now. We'll see. I would see where we are on that one. March delivery is almost $11. I feel that it's going to keep going. Brazil and Argentina, they are having some weather events that are kind of tough, you know. Let's see. Monday receiving dates. Geneva is closed. Let's see here. That's New York. Hello, we will begin receiving soybeans as Oswego starting at 7 a.m. Monday morning, 9:23. We will continue to receive as usual at other elevators, including Geneva, wishing all a safe and successful harvest. So yeah, so they're really the office phone was down. I'm going to put in an offer. My offer will be $11, and I'm not going to do too many acres or too many bushels. I still have somewhere around 20,000 bushels of beans that have no home, which is, you know, I did that. I would have had 10,000 bushels with no home, but I was a little head shy with with contracting because we were in a dry spell, a very dry spell. We went 4 weeks with very, very, very little rain, and the soybeans were curling up and dying. It was kind of scary, and so, you know, I just didn't contract those. I've contracted only 10,000 bushels of beans. I should have 30. I may have more than 30. Comfortably, I'll have 30,000 bushels of soybeans, in my honest opinion, because I've got about 5,000 bushels in the bin right now, and I've got 5,000 bushels. I got 700 acres of soybeans, right? So these are I've already combined the worst, not all the worst beans. The worst beans I have are at my house, right here. They're terrible. They're awful. You know, they're awful. There's 40 acres or 42 acres of soybeans there. Just say 40 acres that are going to be 15 bushel to the acre in the best part, and it might be higher than that, but you just say we average 15 bushel to the acre. That's going to really drag down the yield. So 650 acres of good soybeans, really good soybeans. Some of them, I suspect we will be in the 70 to 100 bushel to the acre range. On some of them, there was regular rains there, and I cannot complain because that 70 to 100 bushels, it could do 110. I don't know, but I'll show you. I'm doing something right now. And did you take a bath?
No.
Oh, what are you doing, Nudie? Come on. What do you want? What do you want? Hmm? What do you want?
Well, I need some heavy stuff.
What heavy stuff?
Like some weights.
For what?
For that chair.
For the chair?
Yeah.
Why do you need weights for the chair?
Because my saw is gonna push it.
Well, Mom has those orange weights. Where are they?
I don't know.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? Did a ding-dong light go off in your head? Oh, yeah. Go find those. Anyway, yeah, so there you go. That's just normal dad stuff to do. Anyway, where was I? Now I've lost my train of thought. Oh, the soybeans. I have pretty good bushel amounts of soybeans. The corn's funny. I have and I've said this before and was wrong, but this year in all the corn that I have planted, which is 650 acres. Last year I had 1,300. I cut it in half. The soybeans I really just doubled. Well, last year I didn't have any soybeans planted alone. They were planted after wheat. So I had 360 acres of wheat last year, and I planted 240 acres of soybeans behind them. And then there was, what the hell did I have fallow? Well, no, I planted another 100 acres of corn after. I had 1,300 acres of corn. So, but whatever. This year I planted 750 acres of soybeans, but I went back in and the soybeans, the slugs got this one farm and I didn't have any bean seed left, but I had corn, so I went back in. It was June 20th and it was still within a reasonable rate of time that I could get this corn planted. And I did, and it's grown and it looks good. But I took 50 acres of soybeans out. So there's 700 acres of soybeans. 40 of it is not good. The rest is just pretty well phenomenal. There might be a field or two that got trimmed by the deer pretty hard, but if we get 70 to 100 bushel to the acre soybeans on a 100-acre farm and 10 of it is trimmed down to, say, 25 or 30. Whoa, be careful. Good job. 25 to 30 bushels to the acre. You're still in that 60 bushel range, which is perfectly fine by me. And there's, say, 500 I didn't even do 150 acres. I think I've done 130 acres of soybeans or so. No, 110 acres of soybeans I've done, and I've got about 5,000 bushels. So we're in that mid-40s range, and those were the worst soybeans. They really were. And I won't grow that variety again because the misshapen beans and no purple ones, really. I mean, there's a purple bean here and there. But anyways, the corn crop is pretty consistent. There's only that one farm that I planted after soybeans that will be weak. I still suspect it'll produce over 100 bushels to the acre, maybe 100, 110. The combine will tell us pretty easily, but that was because of the late planting, and we're getting rain now, and it's not turning. Well, some of it's turning. There was a mishmash of different seed that I had left over from last year and the year before, and it all grew, by the way. I did cut down the seed rate from 32,500 to 26,000 and change. I think it was 26,700, whatever the John Deere planter decides it's going to spit out at that time. And that corn looks pretty okay. I'm not thrilled with it like I'm going to have a bin buster, but none of the corn is going to be a bin buster that I could see. But I will say the tip back is about 1.5 to 2.5 inches. 1.5 to 2.5 inches. It's quite significant. But the ear then got girthy and the kernels got deep. So I think that tip back is really not going to have too much of an effect on the yield because of the depth of that kernel. I mean, we're looking at 5/8 to 3/4 of an inch deep kernels on some of this stuff. like really insane deep kernels with 16, 18 row ears at 32 to 38 long. That's where it's at. So, most half inch to 9/16 inch length kernel. Uh, if you're not familiar with that, that would be in standard metric would be 12 to 15 millimeter. That's the length of them. And 13 to 15, 12 to 15, I'd say 12 to 15 millimeter would be more of a accurate measurement for the guys that don't do U.S. standard or national standard. It's, and in my opinion, is a very good looking kernel of corn. And I haven't gotten into any with the combine, but I've walked the fields, I've pulled them back, I've pulled ears off, I've split those ears, and I've looked at those ears and have been quite pleased with the kernel depth and the color of it. So we don't know what the test weight will be. We have been running lower test weights the last couple of years just because I think the varieties that were chosen for me. So we have a very, and I think I'm going to follow the Eastern Shore Farmers' advice with this one. I'm going to buy some Seed Consultants. Now, if you don't know, Seed Consultants is a Pioneer-owned company. Pioneer, I do believe, is owned now by Corteva. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they've been bought. DuPont used to own Pioneer, or bought Pioneer, and now they've sold it. I don't know. I'm not sure how Pioneer is. But Seed Consultants, I'm watching what the Eastern Shore Farmer's doing down there, and he's having... His corn looks pretty phenomenal. If you don't know, that's Louis Bilborough. He's in the eastern, down around Snow Hill, Maryland, on the eastern shore of Maryland. And he's got really tricky ground because there's a lot of sand there. I know this personally because I've worked on that ground. A few years back, we did corn stalks, corn fodder down there, and that's how I met Louis. And him and Tim get along just great. Yeah, I think they can. Tim hates Lewis. Tim absolutely hates Lewis. He just like, fuck that guy. Just fuck that asshole. I was like, you want to fuck his asshole? Fuck you! Oh, Tim, you can get Tim going so bad. And then, of course, Lewis, he says, oh, you're my boy. You're my boy, and it gets Tim worked up pretty hard. I mean, yeah, pretty hard. Don't take it that way. Tim doesn't watch my videos, so he'll never see this. But anyway, yeah, Tim gets worked up, and Lewis just loves it, and that's the sense of humor that he's got. I mean, when we were working down there, Lewis is like, no, you can't put those bales there. Move them over there. Tim starts moving them, and then Big Lou shows up and says, what are you putting those bales there for? Put them back there. Tim was ready to... He blocked Lewis on his phone. He was like, fuck that guy. I hate that son of a bitch. I was like, look, you can't hate him. Now, there was a guy that I did work for down on the Eastern Shore. It was in Virginia, though. It wasn't in Delaware. It wasn't in Maryland. It was in Virginia. And I did not appreciate that man. I can't say that I hated him, but he was the most arrogant little son of a bitch I ever encountered in agriculture. Just an arrogant little son of a bitch. And the last day, I mean, we're going back in time here now. And maybe he does watch my videos. I don't know. And I really don't care because I'll never work for him again. I'll never work on his ground again. There's just no need for me to do that. But, yeah, I won't even say his name because he's just that big of a prick. But anyway, we're getting down to the last of it. It's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving weekend, and we want to go home. We just want to go home. And he's like, will you get done with this already? You're going to mess up my cover crop or whatever the hell it was that they had put on, and we're going to get paid for this cover crop, and I need that money. And I was like, all right, whatever. I said, I can't do this farm. It's too wet. He said, it ain't wet. It's not wet. Do I have to show you what moisture is? And he came at me. I was like, so you're telling me that that's dry? Yeah, fuck yeah, it's dry. Don't you know what dry ground looks like? I was like, okay, so I guess I'll just go up and bale. Yeah, get it done. Get the fuck out of here. Okay, fine. Not a problem. So we went up and we cleared these bales of corn fodder off of his land. Cleared them. We rutted that farm up so fucking bad. And when I say so bad, we tore that place to thunder. It was bad. We ended up, yeah, we tore it up. And he calls me up on our way home. He says, "You done?" I was like, "Yeah, we're done." He says, "You know what? Thank you. You did a good job." He said, "We only had a couple of problems." And did you finish it up at the whatever place it was? I can't remember what they called it. I could tell you how to get there because we went back and forth to that fucking place a dozen times trying to get it off, and he just wasn't having it. That it was too wet. Anyways, I said, "Yeah, we got it done." I said, "You're not gonna be happy about it, but you got it done." "What do you mean I'm not gonna be happy?" I said, "Well, it was wetter than you would have liked." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, I haven't looked." I was like, "Okay." A half an hour later, the phone rings and it rings and it rings. I didn't answer it because we cut it up so bad, and he was so pissed off. I mean, he was furious. It's like, "Well, he told me it was dry. I know what wet ground is. He told me it was dry. I want to go home. I'm done with this thing." I told him I would just stick around and wait to clear off these bales. He wasn't having it. Get him off of there. Get him off of there now. So we did, and he was mad. But that guy, I never care to work for, or work with again. That's the only farmer that I've ever had contact with that I wish I never did. That guy was just he was a jerk off. I mean, we're sitting there waiting for the fields. He's supposed to show me, "I'll show you the fields so you don't get lost." I'm like, "Look, just drop me a pin. Just drop me a pin. I can find them." "Well, yeah, I don't think so." Okay, the one day we're there at this place and a helicopter flies in, right? A helicopter flies in, lands. He comes out of the shop. We're waiting for our instructions as to where we're going. This helicopter flies in, lands. He comes out. The pilot gets out. There's a woman and a child in the helicopter already. It's not a small helicopter. It's big enough. There's like, you got two front seats and then the back seat, and they face one another. It was kind of not huge, but it was big enough. Okay. Throws the pilot a beer. The pilot cracks it open. Throws the can on the ground. No shit. He gets in along with, I think it was just him. It might have been him and another buddy, because he's all about buddies. Vroom, helicopter flies off. I looked at my crew and I said, "Well, we're going down to Grace Karen. What is this? Oh, what is that? Something Mommy has? Go show Mommy. She'll be impressed."
Well, I already showed her last night.
Oh, cool.
So this is all yours.
Oh, I need that?
Mm-hmm.
Cool, thank you. I'll look at it every day for the rest of my life. Let me poke your belly button. Shut that door. I don't need the door open. So anyways, he flies off, and I was like, "Well, we got this other guy that we didn't finish on, so let's go down and finish him up." Would have took us 3 days to finish him up. And we get gone. We're gone. And I don't know. We're down there for a day. And all of a sudden, the phone rings. "Where are you at?" I said, "Well, you didn't give us any place to go work." So we went down to, I won't use his name. He was a great guy. He was from New Jersey and moved down there like 35 years ago. Big potato guy. Jack Yaros. I'll use his name. Jack Yaros, down on the Eastern Shore. Hell of a nice guy. He was thoroughly impressed with it. He says, "Yeah, the last guys didn't do this until April. You guys are on the ball." It's like, well, I don't want to be down here in April. I want this shit done, home, done, gone. Anyway, we're down there working on his ground, and lo and behold, this guy calls up freaking out. "Where the hell are you? Why haven't you got my ground done?" It's like, "You didn't give us anything." So I said, "Tell us where everything is right now, and when we're done with Jack, we'll come up and we'll take care of you." And all of a sudden, I got a list of these properties. Well, okay, a list of the properties with pins. And I was like, "Okay, no problem, thank you." I go there, half of them were already done. He had forgotten that he had us do these things. So we finished up Jack's, and we went up there, we finished up his, and then we had that one place where we made a mess. But those are just my stories for those days. I really wish we could continue to do it. I enjoyed the custom work. The problem with custom work is now, and I knew it was going to die, was that I couldn't grow the row crops that I wanted to do. We could get the hay done, but we couldn't get the row crops done. And it was just, I knew it was going to dry up for the mushroom farm. after the election, it was just the atmosphere had changed. And not with the farmers we worked with on the straw down in North Carolina, just the people we were working for. How much are you going to do this year? Are you going to be able to get it all done? Or maybe it'll be too much. We don't know. And then the next year, it was like, yeah, okay, well, we'll do it, but we need more money because it was cutting it close. The input costs had gone up. They offered us more money, but they cut the acres in half, and I had to decline. And that pissed those guys off, so they threw us. They actually, I don't even haul hay into them anymore. But I've heard through the grapevine that the guys that caused me all that trouble are no longer in charge down there. So I may just go knock on a door or two because I would really like to do that straw again. My wife would really like to do that straw again. I would really like to do that straw again. But I would do it I think I would do it on my own. I know a lot of guys down there, and I know that we could definitely make some money at that. So, but that's just the way it is. And if Comalto gets elected in, then we're not going to make any money, and it'll be all for naught. All for naught. But all right, I guess I've yammered on here long enough, and maybe you enjoyed this, maybe you didn't. I don't know, but if you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. If you did want to leave a comment, I'm all for comments. I like to answer them, and it's been a while since I was on here. Soybean harvest will commence after this hurricane goes through. We're not sure what's going to happen with it. We're told that it's going to go out and grind the shit out of Georgia and Tennessee, and it's going to wipe out some cotton, and that's going to put more of a demand on soybean meal because the cotton seed will not be available because cotton will be wiped away. Who knows? That could be all bullshit and won't matter for nothing. But anyways, with that being said, it's 8:21, and I actually have to go to work. So I will talk to you all later. Have a nice day, and I hope you enjoyed this.